The agenda, like a discussion could be done.
Well, technically, we can move it right now.
I'll just make or two, but when we first
Move
started.
2.5 down to whatever, 6 or whatever.
Since you call the meeting to order, I'll just make a motion to do that.
Sounds good. Yep. Well, do you have Gretchen coming? Where's Greg's? Man, we got him.
Or Mandy. We got
Here we go. I call the meeting, USD 49 board meeting for October 21st, 2019 to order. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda.
I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda to move personnel transactions out of consent agenda to after exec session.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to move the personnel transactions out of the agenda and place it into the executive session. Any more discussion on that, or any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Now we'll get back to the approval of the agenda. Do we have a second for the approval of the agenda?
I'll second.
We have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of the new agenda, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. And also go online and vote aye or nay electronically. I forgot to mention, we have a new system here. And I'll make it more clear next time.
It's a little slow.
It's a little slow, yes.
Is it?
What we're doing, folks, is we have a new system that electronically records the votes, but we're also stating them verbally for everyone to hear. And I'll be a little more smooth the next time on that one. All right. Okay, next item on the agenda is the consent agenda, including board meeting minutes from last meeting, carryover requests for ECC, Hayes Recreation Commission minutes and agenda, financials, and approval, and not personnel transactions, sorry. Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve consent agenda?
Okay, I'm a little confused.
I thought we did.
You already did that?
I thought we did too. No motion.
Oh, you know what? Maybe we did. I confused myself. I thought we were approving the agenda, and now we're, okay. So do I just ask for something we don't need to do? All right.
Okay.
All right.
No, we got that over.
Okay, I think we're good. Now we'll move on to recognitions. The first item is USD 49 Student Spotlight Recognitions, and the second is USD 49 Achievement of Excellence Recognition. Ron?
Okay, so this is gives me great pleasure tonight. We have a lot of people in the audience, and part of this is just about all the great things going on in our district and with students. The first group that we'd like to recognize this evening is our middle school cross-country teams. I'll wait for them to come in.
Brought him in here.
There you go. Come on in, guys. This is
Line up
all the way
in front of
across
here.
here. Guys and gals.
Tasting themselves, Mr. Albert.
That's right. Most people want to taste themselves.
Had to use change me again.
All right.
Okay, tonight, the USD 489 Board of Education would like to recognize the Hayes Middle School cross-country teams who recently won their league championship at Garden City. The 7th grade boys, raise your hands if you're a 7th grade boy. You were champions. And 8th grade girls, raise your hands. Okay. And then 8th grade boys were also crowned champions. Cross-country teams are coached by head coach Nathan Purdue, assistant coaches Margaret Purdue, Caden Cunningham, and Gabrielle Audi. So a tremendous achievement. You guys started out in the hot summer days, and hopefully you got some cooler days to run in We're just so proud of you and everything that you're doing to represent our school, the Hayes Middle School, and our school district. Congratulations on your achievements. You start and you just come this way. You're going to shake the, no, this way. Right there, you start and shake the hands.
There you go. You got it?
You know names.
Congratulations.
We're all looking. Thank you. Good job.
Congratulations.
Nice job.
Yeah,
Way to go.
nice job.
Way to go.
Congratulations. Nice job.
Go.
Good job.
Way to go.
Congratulations.
Way to go.
Congratulations. Nice job. Nice job. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Nice job.
A lot of hands. Congratulations.
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 Way to go.
Good job. Nice job.
Congratulations. Good job. Good job.
Nice job. Good
Go.
job.
Congratulations.
Good job.
Good
Great job, buddy.
Great job.
Congratulations. Way to go.
Good job.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Good job, guys.
Congratulations. Way to go.
Good job.
Congratulations.
Good job.
Congratulations. Way to go.
Keep running. One more. Two more.
Good job.
Congratulations.
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 Good job. Good to see you. Congratulations.
All right. A lot of kids.
Mr. Albers? We don't get, I mean, whatever.
Hey, Ron,
What do you want?
maybe we need a high five.
High five.
Keep up.
Yeah.
High five. Yeah, the football team would be way more. Okay. Can Mr. Alberts go get the next bunch?
Did he say next bus?
Look at the bus.
High five. High five. We'll high five. Not right now, though.
Do you announce things?
Let your parents.
That's right. You don't need to look at us.
And this is seventh grade?
This is seventh and eighth here. Our numbers didn't show through as much.
Oh, shoot. Well, we appreciate.
Wrestling practice going on.
Oh, yeah. So anyway, this group will represent, and they have represented well. Tonight, we're proud to recognize the Hayes Middle School 7th and 8th grade football teams for winning their league championship and also their undefeated seasons in both 7th and 8th, and they were both 7-0. They had a very successful season, and the Hayes Middle School Falcons were coached by head coach Justin Haney, assistant coaches Scott Lindenmeyer, Ryan Quimby, Jake Deschamps, Craig Amarine, and Kirk Maska. And I believe, and Coach Haney, you can correct me on this is how many years where you have won league?
Altogether, we've got
6 out of the last 8, I know that.
6 out of the last 8 years. So excellent job, and we appreciate you guys coming and representing your team. So thank you.
High five it. Come on, Bill.
Good job.
Way to go, guys.
All right, nice.
Nice job. Nice job.
You gotta change my hand.
Good job. Good job.
good enough, but you don't want to do it right. I've been wrestling practice.
Thanks for
You
coming.
gotta go to Falcons. You don't want these wrestling groups up.
Yeah, I know. I need a hand sanitizer. Thanks, guys.
We have that functionality.
I know, I just actually
We do.
the whole mess.
Yeah, right. Let me touch me.
We have another group?
We've got more.
Oh, we did.
What we do.
Down.
I don't think I understand.
Oh, yeah.
Do I understand?
Are you ready?
Yep, ready?
Okay, also we got a lot of great other things happening, not only with students, but with staff. Tonight we have the Achievement and Excellent recognition. We'd first like to start with two staff members who were recently recognized by the Kansas Association for School Psychologists. And so I believe Carlin will go first.
Hello, thank you, board. First of all, I want to recognize Vicki Unruh. She was recently named the 2019 Kansas School Psychologist of the Year. In Hays, we have been lucky to have 4 of the last 25 School Psychologists of the Year and 5 total over the history of that award. And I actually happen to have a former School Psych of the Year also up here with me. But Vicki, she was recognized this time because of her continued excellence. She's been with the district about 15 years, I believe. 17, I'm sorry. let the expert tell me. But she has been an absolute, just excellent in that role. She currently supports the early childhood students age 3 through 5 through the preschool program. And she's often the very first person that parents interact with in our district when there are concerns with their students. And she is excellent in that role of making parents feel comfortable in a situation where there's a lot of questions, a lot of uncertainty, perhaps a little bit of fear. And she helps guide them through that and helps get kids the services that they need so that they can be successful when they enter kindergarten and beyond. And so the impact on our district from Vicki is outstanding and is recognized because of that outstanding work. So, and then Tom, oh, yeah. You want to? Okay, all right. And then the other individual who was recognized by the Kansas Association of School Psychologists was Julie Zollinger. She was recognized as the Edna L. Harrison Pioneer Award winner, which is in recognition of excellence in mental health service delivery and creativity in doing so. And her recognition was because of multiple parts. One, because of her work with the crisis intervention team, the crisis planning with the district, which definitely helps support trauma and support students through perhaps difficult situations, make sure the district is able to respond to those. But also for her work with Zones of Regulation, which is a program for students to help them identify their emotional state and how to get themselves back to a calm state. She helped modify that and make it work in the middle school grades where it's typically thought of as a elementary or preschool program, but it's the way she modified it allowed students, older students to be able to engage in that. And then also for her work with a pilot program around signs of suicide, which is a suicide prevention program that she's helped to implement there at Hays Middle School. And so just excellent work all around, doing excellent things for kids throughout our district, but especially at Hays Middle School. So.
Great. Come around, do the high five.
Yes.
Or shake your hand, I guess. Or fist bump.
Your choice. Congratulations. Way to go.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Way to go.
High five or a shake?
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Julie.
And we're not done yet, okay? It continues. Got a lot of great things happening. Board of Ed would like to recognize Monica Dreiling, a teacher at Lincoln Elementary who recently received an award for the Presidential Award for Excellence in Math and Science Teaching. Mrs. Lacey.
Wow, this is such an honor, and an honor for me to be able to tell you all about this awesome lady that teaches in my building. She was my co-teacher for 3 years, and so I feel like we've worked side by side for quite a while. This Presidential Award of Excellence in Math and Science Teaching is administered by the National Science Foundation on behalf of the White House Office and Science of Technology Policy. We recognize outstanding teachers for their contributions to teaching and learning of science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and computer science. Each awardee including Monica, will receive a signed citation from President Trump. She also receives $10,000 from the National Science Foundation. She could travel to Washington, D.C. for an awards ceremony. So Monica's been with the district since 2001. She was a special ed teacher and then transferred over and has been a 5th grade teacher at Kennedy. She's a team teacher. What? Oh, why did I say Kennedy? Oh my gosh, because I was at Kennedy for 14 years. That was a long time ago. At Lincoln. Wow. I don't even know where that came from. Yes. She is also National Board certified. She teaches adjunct classes at Fort Hays State. She's a true team player at school. She is part of our home and school association. Even though her daughter is no longer a student at our school, she still is the one who manages our money for us and writes all those checks that we need. She has a respect for all. She is a true champion for all kids, and it is a pleasure for me to introduce Monica Driving.
I don't have anything specific I want to say, just thank you to current colleagues, past colleagues, my family, especially my husband. He gets roped into all sorts of programs. So if you see us making life-size boats and dragging them to the Center for Health Improvement swimming pool for kids to race in those, he's gathering the cardboard and bringing the farm trailer and hauling the boats and burning the boats later in the farm pit. So truly, the projects that I dream up, I could not do on my own.
All right.
Congratulations, great job.
Congratulations, that's very impressive.
Great job.
Let her know. All right.
And last but not least, the Board of Ed would like to recognize O'Laughlin Elementary staff for their distinguished recognition as a Blue Ribbon School by the U.S. Department of Education, which is quite an honor. So if we have some of our O'Laughlin staff members, please come forward.
I didn't prepare anything. I guess if we just
Come
need
on up,
handshakes.
come on up. I got some things I want to say. Hold on. Not yet. No high fiving yet.
Lining up, I think, first.
Face the crowd.
Six Kansas schools were designated as 2019 National Blue Ribbon Schools by the U.S. Secretary of Education, Betsy DeVos. The award is based on schools who overall academic excellence or progress in closing achievement gaps among student subgroups, according to the U.S. Department of Education. The National Blue Ribbon School Award affirms the hard work of educators, families, communities in creating a safe and welcoming schools. There are only 362 schools that won this award this year, and we had one of them. And so congratulations to O'Laughlin Elementary School, to the staff for representing our district in such a first-class manner and the great things that you're doing for kids. So thank you.
Congratulations. Way to go, guys. Congratulations. 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 Good job.
Congratulations, Denise. Congratulations, Christine and Laura. Awesome. Thank you guys for being here. It's awesome.
Okay. All right, are we finished with recognitions? All right, move on to item 4, public comment. If we have anybody from the audience who would like to speak to the board, this is your opportunity. The board requests that all members of the public respect the rules outlined below. I'll read them to you unless they're on the screen. Or not, basically, we don't have a lot of time, so if you have something to say, please feel free to jump up to the microphone. Okay. I'm going to make my own public comment. Well, I'm going to try it one more time and see what happens. I've announced on public social media, on my Twitter account, my Facebook account, and I only have a few friends, I guess, so no one's showing up, but Saturday mornings at 8:30 to 9:30, I've been down at Breathe Coffee Shop. I did pass the word to a few teachers, and I guess didn't get out. But I want to make myself available Saturday mornings if people want to come down and talk about school district issues. I'll do that at Breathe Coffee Shop again this Saturday, 8:30 to 9:30. And then I'll probably, on my Twitter account, announce other places so that I'm not punishing Breathe too much, or I don't know, whatever. Just to be fair, I guess. So that's my other minor public comment. But you know what? I'll take a second real quick. I want to thank Ron for encouraging us to do the work study sessions, and in particular going to schools and having tours. I want to thank Tom and Marty both for giving us a tour for both middle school, Hayes Middle School and Hayes High School. And I was also very impressed by the teachers that gave us the tour of the CTE program at Hayes High. And I also want to thank them for the hard work and the time it took to plan for expansion of that program and improving that program. The board members that were there were very impressed, I think. I know they were, I asked them. And I think that's something we should start strategizing on how to expand and improve that program. Now, of course, it's all depends on funding and whatnot, but I also encourage the teachers and the district to look into grant funding for that kind of program. So anyway, I just wanted to say thanks to the principals and the CTE folks for the tours that they provided. Okay, next presentation is from the Hayes High School Trap Shooting Club. Ron, do you want to take this over?
I believe Mr. Straub is going to.
Okay.
Thank you for the opportunity to talk to you about an idea that had landed in our laps, basically the way most of our clubs began at Hayes High School, and that was from kids. If you would allow me, please, Drama Club, HHITA, Art Club, Knitting Club, Red Cross Club, Medical Professions Club, our Environmental Club, Science Olympiad, Scholars Bowl, Anime Club, NHS, Foreign Language, National Honor Society, Angler Club, Book Club, FFA, Student Council, Fine Arts Offerings and Productions, Sports, Co-Curriculars, which would include DECA Debate, Forensics, Welding Woods, shows and competitions, Helping Hands, and the many projects they take on, Allied Health, Mechanics, and Concurrent Credit. We really do, very proud of our curriculum, but we're also proud to extend our kids' interests outside of the school day. We really do believe, and we know that research would show that when kids are involved in good things with good mentors, good things happen. That being said, we would normally not come to a board meeting and talk about a club starting at Hayes High School. This one was an exception, and I think you would agree that you would want to hear about this more. So we are here tonight to talk to you about, we do not have a trap club at Hayes High School yet. We are here to talk to you and hopefully get guidance and directions so we can go forward with that trap club called the Hayes High School Trap Team. And I want to bring Chris Dinkle and a few of the kids that have really put a lot of time and effort into this, and they can give more details, I think, and answer many of your questions through the presentation, but we certainly want to answer any questions or concerns you might have too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'd like to take the time to thank you folks for giving us the time to present an interest that students have at Hayes High School regarding trap and skeet. At this time, what we've done is we basically put we assigned some officers so we can get this, off the ground and make some decisions so we can make a better presentation. I think with this kind of topic, it takes a little bit more due diligence on everybody's part to make you feel more comfortable about exactly what trap shooting and the sport of trap shooting What is trap shooting? That's a quick rundown of what it is. It's a competition. There's roughly, actually I think there's 74 teams in the state of Kansas right now, about 2,200 participants. You'll see a little blip on that later or screen. That's a quick rundown of what trap shooting is. It is an organized sport. It's not something that is random. The Hayes Sportsman Club does sponsor trap shooting events. We'll go on real quick here. Again, this is the state and national participation rates. As of 2018, end of year is actually 74 teams, not 72. 20 teams or 20 states in the United States have them, and over 26,000 participants. This is the Sportsman's facilities. We do have the facilities here local. This is a virtual program, so there's not a lot of travel time unless you go to state and national events. So we do have probably one of the nicest facilities, wouldn't you say, next to Wichita, maybe some of the larger facilities in the state. We have both fall and spring sports seasons. Right now we're looking to participate in the spring. It's basically 9 weeks, goes from April to June. And again, it is virtual, so these students, we pick a night that we want to, I think we're talking Thursday nights, right? You have a team, you take your rounds of shots, they're scored, and I guess it's John Dreiling who actually does the scoring, is that correctly? He enters them to the state Monday mornings, so it's all virtual. Something of your interest is that when you're part of the league, the Kansas State Target League, part of the registration, they do provide a liability and accidental insurance as well. That covers the coaches and the students. Eligibility, 9 through 12. You can't start at 6th grade. Our intent is 9 through 12 at this time. As far as participations, you're limited to one coach. The ratio is 1 to 10, so that we could have 30 students, because currently we have 3 coaches, myself, Ben Hunksinger, and Alex Ford at Hayes High School. Would go ahead and man this, and there's a 1 to 10 ratio. Again, they encourage this as a team sport through your high schools and your schools. So they encourage all the PR and the yearbook and the recognition through the yearbooks as well. As far as the costs are concerned, we decided it's probably closer to $300, but anywhere from $200 to $300 is the cost per year, and that pays for your consumables. There's a $35 and a $25 registration fees. There's also a $5 fee that's not in there, that if you have to take the hunter safety course as well. We have adopted several bylaws already. One of them is that we have to have the SAFE course and the hunter safety course. However, they only require one of the two, but we're going to require both of those. So, and that was by the choice of the students. They're the ones who we kind of mutually agreed that we ought to have both. Scholarships, approximately 300 schools have shooting sport programs at the collegiate level. Even at Fort Hays State, I guess we're attracting a number of students from Nebraska and around the state level for scholarships at Fort Hays State as well, since they have a trap program. Coaching staff. That's a brief description of what's asked of us as head coaches. You have a range safety officer. Now, Kevin, is that what you provide? And John, okay. Kevin Campbell, who's the official title at the Sportsman Club? President. So we have a great supporting cast at the Sportsman Club to help us with that. Talk about a family atmosphere. You know, when you go out there and just mentoring young people, I mean, it's a very, very strong environment. Current schools, again, there's 74. There was wasn't quite 27, but it's between 26 and 27 students, 1,000 students in the United States. And now we have some information videos that I think our assigned president, Monique William, would like to address with you folks.
Okay.
Oh, okay, go back.
I don't know
You want
if
to
can
step
do
up
it.
here.
It might be, okay.
If you click on the first link, it's a video about our national shoot, which happens every year. This last year we had over 32,000 kids enter it from over 1,000 different schools just participating.
You have to go back.
We're getting there. Takes a minute sometimes. Let's see a cursor running around. You need to click that enable editing up there on top? Nope. Okay.
Then if you scroll down, the video should be down a little bit.
She said scroll down.
What's on the
There
screen
you
is
go.
not on her screen.
I
So
know.
it's really
Oh.
hard. Like, she's looking at something.
Wow, you're pretty talented.
So it's like,
Okay.
You'll have to keep scrolling down probably.
It's at the very bottom of that page, I believe.
Is that it over there?
It should be there, but I'll kind of just describe what the video is. The video takes you through what it's like being at our national shoot. And at our national shoot, we have 2 miles of just straight kids and over 20 trap houses that are all lined up side for side. And it's like a week-long event. So just to get that many kids through there, it takes a week. And this year we had a 15-way tie for first place with 100 targets out of 100 targets. So it's a very competitive sport. I know at our state shoot it was very competitive. This year was my first year competing in it. I actually went and shot for Russell this year. So I kind of got an eye-opener. Just at our state level, we shoot at the state KTA grounds, and that's down in Wichita. And we have 1.5 miles of traps. And I remember we were at the very end of it, and you walk just through a whole line and like tent setups of kids. Like, this is a huge event, and it's growing everywhere.
Wow.
So on these pictures, we have our Russell team is at the very top left, and if you see the girl in the middle with the red shirt, that's actually my cousin. She is missing half of her arm. So she has a love for shooting, and it kind of shows that anyone can do this sport. I know at our trap association that we shoot for at the Sportsman's Club, we have an older gentleman. He's actually in a wheelchair, and he shoots out of a wheelchair. He is a very competitive man. He can shoot with the best of us. And then if you go over in the middle at the top, that is Jordan. He is our 4-H state champion this year for shooting. He shot, how many targets?
I shot 141 targets out of 150. That's 50
Wow.
trap, 50 skeet, 50 sporting clays.
That's awesome.
So, and then at the very top right, we have my twin sister. This was her first week of track for the high school. We had a lot of fun. I enjoyed shooting over there, but we have such a great facility in Hayes that I really wanted to bring kids over there to shoot. We have a line of 6 houses plus 2 skeet fields, and we have a whole row of lights to, so if we go longer in the night we can. We actually ran into some dark problems shooting for Russell. They actually had to pull a Ranger out there with a headlamp on it, so we could see the targets.
Wow.
And then if you move to the bottom left, this shows you a setup down here of what a trap line looks like. So your front man is on station 1, and it just goes around the curve. Before you even start, he will say, squad ready. Everybody have their eyes and ears, which is required. You have to have ear protection and eye protection at all times. And it just goes around the circle. We're scored. The squad leader is on station 1, and he will tell kids to move, so that way we don't get off on scoring. And the next picture over from that is another picture. That is actually at our Hayes range. That is how we will be shooting. It has all voice-activated speakers instead of one man pulling the target, so nothing's delayed. It goes a lot smoother that way. And then at the bottom right, that's me practicing for the high school state trap.
Wow.
And then there's another slide of picture. So here we have some more pictures of us shooting trap, and as you can see on the very right, that is also Liberty shooting. I love this girl. She has so much ambition. She can shoot, and it just amazes me. She's missing her arm from here down, and she can shoot the best of us too. Like, this sport is not excluding to anyone, especially if you're disabled. Like, you can do anything with this sport. And at the bottom left here, we have me, Maddie, and another kid from Russell. We all brought home trophies this year. I was your first place varsity female overall in Kansas trap, and my sister was third place junior varsity. And the kid on the right, so this kid shot 97 out of 100, and he tied for 5th place. So that's just kind of to show you how competitive it was with us.
Wow.
And I shot 95, and I tied for 11. So it was very competitive. In conclusion, we want you guys to all really consider this, because we believe shooting sports is more than just a fun activity. It's a way for us to learn and develop about the handling and safety of firearms. We really want to kind of push the safety aspect of this, which is why we are requiring kids to take hunter safety and the safe course, which is not required to take both. You just take one of the two. We want to thank you all for allowing us to present this idea of having a shooting team a part of Hayes High. Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So at this time, I just, want to thank your time and ask for your blessings to start this, the Hayes High Trap Club. I think in the times that we're in, I think it calls for more education. And this is an opportunity for us to educate and promote the safe handling and see it as a sport, as a competitive sport, in an environment, a family environment that students can enjoy, families can enjoy, but also bring a positive light on trap shooting and firearms. Thank you.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
Mr. Dingle, you did well, but her passion is a little higher. That's all I want to say. But you can just see it. You can just see it the way she presents and the way she's talking about it. And
She's pretty much told me how to get things done.
Very good.
Thank you.
What, you say you shoot for Russell? Is that right?
Yeah, we shot from, okay, so if your school does not have a trap team, you can go and shoot for a different league or school. You just have to have your athletic director's signature. And I've met a lot of great people from Russell.
I'm sure.
I just kind of, I was like, okay, it's going to be okay.
I'm all for collaborating with other schools, but I'm thinking we need to start a team so we can have you guys shooting for us.
Any other
Collaboration's all good
questions
as
I
long
might
as
ask?
Yeah. So you said you have enough to handle 30 students?
30 students, we're really not sure. Just these students spend a lot of time creating some bylaws, and we've adopted the Kansas Clay Target policies and handbook, which I think you may have received already. We've also adopted the policies and procedures for the district and the Hayes High handbook as far as grades, conduct, and those things. And they added some things in addition to that. So they've spent some time going through and really being conscientious about starting a team. Gosh, what else have we done? Elected members, as far as the number of students, it's 1 to 10 ratio. We have 3 coaches, so we're limited to 30.
Okay.
we have a means by controlling that. I mean, this may be very well one of those sports or one of those events that, you know, you might get an unbelievable number of students signing up. We think the safety course and the hunter safety course will probably thin that out quite a bit. But then when you talk about grades and you talk about a lot of the other things that we're asking, requiring, I think we'll get a very, very serious group of kids that'll take this competitively. Because we, you know, and funding's another thing too. $300 a student is roughly. Well, that will be fundraised, and we've looked at sponsorships, we've looked at grants. There's means out there to produce those dollars for these students. So, and that was one of the reasons why we've started this early, because if this is something that you do acknowledge, then we would need to get busy raising funds. So.
Is this something that would allow us to actually then host like events and stuff like that here in Hayes then, as far as to?
Well, being virtual, there's not the need for it.
Okay, I didn't know for sure if they still did that.
I'm certain that's a possibility, but that's not really how it's set up. It's set up to be virtual. The virtual, thank you, Marty. Basically what happens on Thursday nights, our team shoots, and there's a 5-member pods, if you will, of each, for each groupings. And, we have a range marshal who scores that. And then that score is digitally recorded, and then it's sent in to the state every Monday morning.
I see.
And then all those scores are compiled, and that's how your rankings come out. And then
That's also how you we all are put on squads, and for your state shoot, you're required to send a varsity team, a junior varsity team, and a novice team. So you're not knocking out like kids that have never shot before. You're not putting them all up against each other. You're still going to have your top 5, which is going to be on your varsity. Your next 5 will be your junior varsity, and then the 5 after that are going to be on your novice. And you're obviously going to have some alternates in there just in case someone can't make it to state. But that also helps you decide that.
Interesting.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is it separated boy-girl, or is it all co-ed?
This is all co-ed.
they discourage shoot-offs, but we think we may have to do that. But we thought we'd take the virtual scores to place our teams.
Yeah,
Just you take top 5, next top 5, next top 5.
with the virtual scores, you're supposed to designate one day where you can only shoot registered targets. So if someone's gone, like we designate Thursday as our registered target day, that's the only day you can shoot targets to send in to the league. So if you're gone that day, the next Thursday you're going to shoot a makeup round or take your average from the rain day.
I see.
Okay.
It's well organized.
Yeah.
When I was reading through all the policies, maybe one of the best, well-organized student activities I've seen. They cover, as you can see in the policy, if you skim that, it's very well organized.
Yeah, and it's getting really big at the collegiate level. Like you said, Fort Hayes has a team. They are pretty much unstoppable right now. Fort Hayes has won 5 national titles, and recently at the rest of, I think the last 5 or 6 shoots that they go to. So this is like at the collegiate level, it's different than your high school level because your high school level, you're only shooting at your range for the 6 weeks. The only time you travel is for state nationals instead. And then when you go to the collegiate level, they shoot double strap, wobble, they shoot skeet, they shoot American skeet, and international skeet. You're shooting a lot of different things. And you travel to all the different schools that have the big organizations that host these events, and you'll have 600 or 700 college kids that are sitting there and shooting trap and double and skeet. We actually host a big college event out here that our 4-H scores for. So
Oh, great.
you'll see some really good kids at just the college level that will potentially go on and shoot at the KTA range and possibly the national level for our U.S. team at the Olympics.
Olympics, yeah. Wow.
I always like things that are considered lifetime hobbies, you know what I mean? Because football and everything else is great, but there comes a point when you just can't physically do it anymore. But as you were mentioning, this is something that someone can do in various states of their life and various conditions. So.
You know, that hurts.
Just telling you
I
like it
haven't
is.
admitted that to myself yet.
There's always scratch you.
These kids will more than show me up.
There was a couple comments made back here from some dads that they felt was important for you to hear. First of all, the guns would never be allowed to be brought on our school property, that they would be stored off campus and taken to the events. Chris and I talked about the transporting of guns and ammunition would be separate vehicles and separate from the kids during that time. But out at Hayes, they had a high school last spring, you said? About five high school teams did come to Hayes. Now, we didn't have a team, but they came to Hayes and competed out there too. So it doesn't have to be virtual, but certainly that does keep the cost down too. So I agree with you totally. It's a lifetime sport for our kids, and they're around good people, and good things can happen. I just thank you for your consideration.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good job.
Just to add confidence to it is that we do have 2 parents here who are certified 4-H instructors as well. So we have a great mentoring team. Head coach has to come from the high school, not because he's the best shooter. I'm embarrassed to say that.
It sounds like they may train you. That's all I'm saying.
Thank goodness for leadership responsibilities, right? Did you mention something else? Is that it?
No, Ben and I are both certified instructors for 4-H shotgun. And that's a 3-day course that you have to go through to get certified for it.
Okay.
And Ben is on the coaching staff, so he's volunteered to coach that as well.
Very cool.
Yeah, thank you very much for this presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
More to it than I thought. I didn't know there was that. Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah. All righty, moving on to our discussion items. These are just for discussion today, and then we'll end up voting on them next meeting, if we decide to do so. First is transfer of the deed for the Munger Building to the Salina Catholic Diocese.
Yeah, this is just, I think, maybe the final step. We have just moved into the building number 3 out on 13th Street, and for infants and toddlers, and so that was, we vacated the Munger Building, and really the last act is to turn the building back over to the Salina Catholic Diocese. I've talked to Bill about the deed, and he's aware of what that includes and what needs to happen there. And this is just an opportunity to ask questions, or if you have any comments.
So, Bill, I guess the one question I have is that the board would need a vote on this. Let me back up. We're transferring the deed, so I guess the board would need a vote on this next time to actually have it happen.
That's correct.
Okay. I assumed as much.
And I assume this is
Board-
written in there from when we took this over years and years back, that if we ever got out of it, it would basically...
Half of it. For some reason, the north half of that property, or a little more than half, Board of Education owns outright. The south half of it, which is, I think, 160 feet, if it's not used for school purposes, after 5 years, it reverts back to the diocese.
Oh, okay.
So we only really have title to half of it, anyway.
I see. Okay.
And under the Kansas statutes, Board of Education can dispose of any property in any manner that the board feels is in the best interest of the school district. You don't have to have it appraised, you don't have to take bids, you don't have to sell it, you can do whatever you want to with it.
Okay.
So does our half have the boiler? Just kidding.
I don't know where the boiler is. If I did, I could tell you.
And with the space issues and everything else we've gone through, obviously, yes, we moved everything out of the other one. We don't foresee any time in the future anything that we may need to revisit with that again, or
I mean, once they're gone, it's tough to find open properties again, so that's the only reason I ask, just to.
I mean, there's always space issues and things that, I mean, I think it's always the distance that creates.
I'd say it's always nice to have it closer,
Yeah.
but.
It creates situations, so, I was always under the assumption that that had already kind of been worked out. I've never actually seen anything in writing that said that, so that's why I was always under the assumption that once we vacated, we would be turning the building back over.
I think
So
that's the general
Yeah.
consensus.
We haven't
That
really
brings up a good
thought about
point.
that as a possibility, because I always thought that that was just the next step.
Okay.
But yeah, space, and where things could go, I don't know. That's a good question.
Were we sending food over there, or did we actually have it?
Yeah, we sent food, I
That's what I was
believe.
thinking, too.
We sent- Yes.
Is this something we're making a decision on tonight, or?
No,
Okay.
just for discussion.
So we have.
We'll bring it back next month.
I guess all I would have then is, I guess maybe that's something, maybe from an admin side and everything else, maybe if,
Okay.
granted, it's gonna be speculation, because, we don't know what the future brings, but it definitely might be worth at least having the comment to make sure it's not something here in the next couple of years that we could foresee moving something or whatever, so I just would hate to get rid of it and then find out, boy, if we had this extra space.
Okay.
Do we know if the diocese is looking to take that over anytime soon?
Yes, I
so
think
they
they're under the
wanna do something
assumption
with
that
it?
they will take ownership
Yeah.
as well. So,
I can understand that, but it's good to look at it. We have a couple weeks or more, so. Okay. Any more discussion on that, folks? Greg, we just finished up item 6.1, discussing the deed to transfer Munger. We'll vote on that next time. All right, now we're in discussion, item 6.2, classified wage study proposal recommendations. Keith, I think you have or Faith.
It's got to be Faith.
Okay, Faith.
I'll kind of set the tone here. Faith and I have had some great conversations with board and administration about our wage study.
Okay.
She's also added some of her own research. She's going to share that information with you now. Our focus for this discussion is starting wage and what we're calling right now leveling out for clerical and nutrition wages. So, Faith, get plugged in and we'll get you going.
And again, this is a discussion, so we'll have a chance to review this and discuss it, and then, I don't know if we actually need to vote on anything down the road, but we won't be voting tonight on this at all. Okay. It's up to you, it's all yours, if you're ready. Nope.
All right. So we'll start with this dreadful chart once again that we've all seen many times. Just to kind of do a catch-up recap of where we're at. The Docking Institute did a wage study for us back in May. It was part of the follow-up from last year's wage increases and some of the discussions that were held around our classified staff. There was discussion about how do we level set for those who over time maybe have fallen out of their compensation as compared to their years of experience. We discussed possible salary schedules for classified staff. And so tonight, we're picking up where we left off in terms of some analysis that's been done, the work that's been done, and kind of where we're at right now. So Docking took a look at all of our classified groups. We provided them with tons of documentation, job descriptions, etc. They came back and told us that our areas that we were weak compared to market were secretarial and clerical workers, as well as some of our IT and tech. So those are the areas that we focused on initially. I guess I was kind of debating where to start here. Let's jump in right here. I know this is kind of small, but you guys should be able to open this from the board docs. Everybody's got that? So if you look on the analysis table, this is essentially all the information that we've gotten back. So as a reminder, currently our entry-level wages for clerical staff, the 981 is a combination of 962 and 10. For all intents and purposes, it's just easier to work with that way. And then 1142. If you look immediately below that, you can see comparative data that we received for other school districts, comparable in size to us. Ellis being the exception, but it's nice to see that a view of a neighboring district, a close neighboring district. So you can see there that the average for school districts for these clerical and secretarial positions without Hayes are 1039 and 1148 respectively. We also got from the Docking Institute, skip down a couple lines, comparable wages for employers in Hayes. These are all types of employers. Again, the details are outlined in the full report that we received. Fort Hays State is broken out on its own, simply because it's, in our discussions the last time we were going over this topic, everyone felt that, you know, probably some of our strongest competitors for these types of jobs locally would be Fort Hays and Hays Med. So Fort Hays, 1271, 1398 respectively. Hays Med, we got some really good benefit information from Hays Med. Not as much on wages, however, they did confirm that 1039 is the absolute lowest wage that they pay for a clerical type position, that they do hire off of a schedule and very frequently hire over that base amount if someone's coming in with experience. So then, for the purposes of our analysis, we're looking at an average of the comparison data, and you'll see at the bottom 1114 and 1231. The average for 1114 does not include Fort Hays. Point of clarification, I apologize I wasn't able to get this clarified prior to today, is whether or not Fort Hays is already in the Hays employers number, so we didn't want to skew that. It's pretty close anyway for level 1. Now level 2, it might make a substantial difference if it's not already in there, but for the purposes of this exercise, we left it out. So now that we've sort of established a baseline, the 1114 and the 1231, we continue our analysis, and we're essentially to a point where we're not necessarily ready to full-blow implement a classified wage schedule. However, we recognize a strong need to level set our current employees based on their years of experience with us and where they're being compensated. I'm going to flip over really quick, just as a reminder. I think a few board members were not at the last meeting where we discussed this. If you look at Clerical 1 analysis, this is, I'm not going to go through all these like we did before, but this one illustrates pretty clearly what we're talking about. So just looking at the graph, the blue dots represent our current clerical staff in this category in terms of their years of experience and their wage. We can see that we're all over the place. If we go and level set based on a schedule, a range, we can align everybody to where things look pretty fair with the red line in terms of how long I've been working, my experience, and my compensation. In this particular example, you can see there, to level set, we're looking at a cost, an average wage increase of 84 cents an hour. Total cost on an annual basis would be $23,642. I want to jump back now to the table analysis. Again, we want to look at ranges. So if you look at column N, you will see the 1114 and the 1231 there for our first group of clerical staff. So we looked at these in two groups. We believe that we have a group school-based, and we believe that those clerical people in the schools, that there's a delineation between a level 1 and level 2 in terms of duties and responsibilities. We believe we have a second group. When we look at our central office, those duties and responsibilities are different. And we're looking at clerks and specialists in each of our central office departments. Now, what we would like to do is introduce a base wage and also a range where we're working off of a midpoint that represents basically a 30% spread. So you're $14.50 on the high end, represents $337 from your midpoint, and 30% on the high end. Same thing if you go down from your midpoint of $13.10 to $11.14. That would be 85%. And if you scroll over, you can kind of see it illustrated all the way through. Also, nutrition was not specifically called out in the wage study. However, it's a group that administration has a strong desire to look at based on the turnover with this particular employee group. So we've included them in our wage study analysis as well. So if we apply these ranges to help level set our current employees, you can see the financial impact, the average increase, all the way down. So we're looking at $101,000 if we attempt to look at nutrition as well as our clerical group. I don't think I previously stated it, but we had our tech guys, we had one in each of the elementary schools, so 4 of those have already been corrected. So I guess what I'll do is stop here so we can have some discussion, questions. I was a little bit choppy running through that.
No, you did great. It was very understanding. So, any comments from?
When's the plan to implement it?
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
When's the plan to implement the scale?
Actually, we'd like, if we can, from the financial side, I want to double check, make sure the money works, but if we could have things put together by the end of negotiations, it could happen this year, at least for the clerical, for sure.
Well, none of this is tied to negotiations though, is it?
Good point, Greg. The idea would be to finish everything up all at the same time, but that would certainly be up to the board. I misspoke.
Okay.
I mean, this could be implemented at any time if the board wanted to move on.
Oh, it would seem to me that if this is where we think we need to go, I don't know why we wait. I think we just implement it and move forward.
So would those wages kick in? Thanks. If we did implement this today, for example, would it be the next paycheck, or do you wait a month, or how does that?
Or do we backdate it as we do all other pay?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just
okay.
Because this probably hasn't been
We really haven't processed.
backdated.
Yeah, we haven't processed
I
that
think
part of it.
it's processed as going forward.
Well, if it's only going forward, I would make a motion that we approve it as presented and implement it immediately.
I second that.
Okay, been moved and seconded to move forward with the items listed here immediately. And it's been seconded. Have any more discussion?
You're not planning on moving any wages down, correct?
No, no, I don't believe that. No one will go down. Though some will not. This is only about trying to fix some of the salaries that were, so some will go up, but some could stay exact same.
Could I clarify maybe a couple things?
Sure.
One thing that Faith was showing you there, not everybody will get the same raise. Okay, I think that's important for you to know that, because there'll be a few that might wonder, okay, why did we get this? Okay, so you just need to know that could be a discussion. I think it's fair, and I think it shows that we're tracking where they need to be. based on the illustration, but that's one thing I want you to be aware of. The other thing about the motion, I'd like to kind of get what your idea is, what immediately is. Is it next pay period? Is it, you know, haven't talked to my payroll guys just to see how much prep it'd be. I honestly, I don't know, but, you know.
The only question I'd have based on that is you made the comment that you wanted to go back through and double check numbers to make sure they work. I assume we've at least gone through this somewhat to know that the numbers are going to work.
I'm 99% sure we're good to go.
Okay.
It's just, I wasn't anticipating that it was going to be approved tonight, but
Okay.
it'll work. I guarantee that. But I would like to have some direction with maybe a little idea as far, maybe some time to implement it.
And I'm not.
You know, I'm not
really-
sure what that'd be.
And I'm not in favor of voting on this tonight. I mean, I'm not opposing this idea, but I'd like to see the numbers, be sure, and since we do have some pending negotiations out of the same pool of money, I want to be able to look at the total impact of what we have available, to look across it. So I think it's premature to do that without looking at it. I support coming back to 2 weeks, but not until we run some numbers on it. That's my opinion.
Okay.
So I would vote nay tonight.
Can I give you a little more information? If we do come back, if it doesn't pass tonight, we will just give you the end, like, okay, here's what we recommend. We should tell you what time it is, we won't tell you how the watch works like we've been doing. We'll just come back, and
Sure.
then we'll have a total cost on that, but that's completely up to the board, of course. If you approve it tonight, we're going with it. Just maybe need some idea on when is
I
immediate.
just want to look at it in relation to the total amount we have available. That's my concern.
Sure.
But it's good, and the idea of leveling, I support that 100%. That fixes a lot of inequities that are there and will be very useful moving forward. So however my vote goes, it's not the idea, it's the timing and forcing something, I think, too soon.
Okay, we're still in discussion. Sophia, Luke, any ideas, thoughts?
I guess my thing is Faith and Keith, I just want to make sure you guys are okay with this. I mean, that we're ready, like you said, we are ready to go live. And then I guess the next thing is you're talking about that date. You're kind of wanting a date from us. So what I'm hearing for you is like October, since really that October payday is 4 days away. That's maybe not doable. We should set a date, maybe starting at November 1, and then it would be on November 25th paycheck.
That would be helpful.
Okay.
When's our next board meeting?
You have a board meeting scheduled for, I believe, November 4th work study session, and then you have your regular meeting on the 21st, or that would be the 18th.
But we still.
But we can still vote on the work study if we decide to.
You definitely could.
I guess my thoughts are that we're in our discussion phase at the moment, and I would like to actually wait at least 2 weeks to get some more feedback from the district on implementing this plan. As Keith mentioned, at the moment, we're looking at how they built the watch, not really what time it is, if that's paraphrasing.
Close enough.
So I would actually vote against this. I like the plan, I'm all for it, but I think I'll vote against it tonight to implement it immediately, but I would vote for it again to implement it once we have some more feedback, and you all are more comfortable, I think, on implementing it. That's my opinion.
I think if we're going to send it back with more feedback, we need to be clear what feedback we need so they can have it. Otherwise, they're going to be guessing. I haven't heard anybody, other than when the timing was, that's the only issue I've heard, and pending negotiations. But the problem is with negotiations, when that gets approved, those only get backdated to the June or July 1. These people lose every penny of it, and what they lose is much more significant than the others. So if we mess around on this until the other's done, that could be another year, or however long it's going to take to get to the end of that process.
What's the process of tabling this to a vote to bring it back November 4th?
We could move to table it, we could
That's my motion.
vote on that. If we don't
But
vote-
with specific directions of like the implementation plan. And again, I just want to see how it fits within total money. I don't want to hold it up, and I think it is a going forward, not going back.
I agree, and I
Motion and a
wasn't.
second on the table, though. Those have to be acted on first.
And I guess I'd like to see, like I said, just as I'd asked before, to make sure we've doubled and triple checked to make sure where we're at on that, because I know our numbers we've, had some discussion as far as where certain things were. I guess I'd just like to make sure that that's exactly where we think it is.
I feel comfortable voting on it tonight. There's a lot of data here. We've been working on it for a long time. And I'm anxious.
We have a motion and a second. We also have a request to table it.
But you need to just work.
A motion at the one time.
Yeah, it really is. I don't like
All
the
right.
position.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor, and it's been seconded to implement this immediately.
Before we vote,
Sure.
I'm very up in the air. I mean, I'm with Greg. I'm ready to pull the trigger. I also understand that I've said numerous times I want this to be perfect when we launch it. So, if we wait until the 4th, what exactly are we getting for that? Does that make sense? Why do we need to wait to the 4th? Someone needs to convince me, or I'm going to vote for it, I guess.
Oh, I'm not sure I need to convince you.
asked
I'm just
that
saying,
because
I think the
it's
idea was that
direction.
it came to the board tonight to discuss it, and the details of how they're going to implement it haven't been finalized yet from what I hear. And so I got the impression that district personnel would rather us wait, I think, to
prefer that, but
sketch out an implementation.
I guess that would be my question, is for you two down there. Would you prefer us to wait till November 4th, or are you ready to go tonight?
yes, I would prefer you wait.
Well, do you want to wait because you want to wait till the next pay period? Because
That's what I was going to ask, where Greg, I mean, because I'm okay with approving it if we could say
We
it
could
would
simply
take
say
effect
that
this
starting
day.
the next full pay period, we implement it.
Well, you mean as far as kind of our direction, Greg, is what you're saying?
Well, I'm trying to figure out what we're waiting on and what's going to change between now and then, other than the expiration of time. And if it's simply that, we could say that this goes into effect the next pay period, then it's in effect and it's ready to go. If it's 4 days away, then it's not 2 weeks and 4 days away.
What if
Because if 2 weeks from now will be 4 days away too.
Let me
Or-
respond this way. We can turn our
Sure.
ship. I mean, you can approve this tonight and it'll work. Our idea, we were coming in here as a discussion item tonight,
Right.
and then we were going to come back to you at our next board meeting. But we will do as directed, and this stuff's solid is what I'm showing you. It's just what my expectation was coming in tonight is all, the only reason I have any trepidation at all. But this thing will work.
Were you still going to work on a pay scale after this?
We would like to do that down the road, Sophia, because there's some more work we need to do on that. We are not ready for a salary schedule at this time.
Because I know when we were saying that we really wanted to implement it and everything be correct, it was mostly because we were relating to a pay scale. This seems just leveling. Yeah, leveling just seems so easy.
I respect that. It's a deeper research project for that, and I duly hope this is the first step that direction, but we are not ready for that.
Okay. Well, presently, the motion on the floor is to implement the plan immediately. If you wouldn't mind wordsmithing that slightly to say starting with the next pay period, and that gives the district enough time to put a plan in place, then I'm comfortable with that.
Move to amend my previous motion to reflect that it would go into effect the first day of the next preceding pay period.
All right. Do we need a second on that? Modification?
Second.
Okay, we have a second and a motion, modified motion and a second. Well,
Just on the modifications, all we vote on.
Yeah.
oops. All right, I'm ready to vote. I'm going to support this now.
Voting on the modification?
Should be.
Okay, we're voting on the modification to the original amendment. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, the modification passes 7-0. Now we're voting, any more discussion on the original motion? Hearing none.
Which goes in with the modification.
All those in favor of the original motion with the modification, say aye. Aye. All opposed?
Nay.
Okay, motion passes 6-1. Okay. No, that's right. I didn't state myself. Is that on the screen, or was that your call?
I'm so sorry?
Jess? Was that? Okay, we're waiting. All right,
They're going to switch us back. Shannon's going to switch
we are
back.
voting electronically, and I stumbled again.
I guess I'm not saying.
Sweet. Oh, you did? Yeah.
Well, we do have,
Don't worry about it.
I don't see it. Maybe I
The
clicked
votes
off.
are done, it's done.
Oh,
It's over.
Just record the votes.
The results.
Okay. Gotcha. I assumed you had, but I want to make sure. Okay. Now we're moving into our action item portion of the meeting. And we have the item 7.1, naming of the new early childhood education facility. I'll keep going. We have had a list of suggested names from the district. We received those by email, and it's in the agenda here, including the USD 49 Early Childhood Center, Hayes Early Childhood Learning Center, USD 49 Early Childhood Connections, Hayes Early Childhood Connection Center, Early Education Center at Oak Park Complex and Oak Park Education Complex. And we had, let me look real quick here. Oh, 10 or so more suggested names. And we have received emails and comments from folks in the community. I am going to propose, or I move, that we name the complex the USD 49 Early Childhood Complex.
You move to do that?
I move to do that.
Second.
Is there any seconds? Okay, it's moved. USD 49 Early Childhood Complex. And it's seconded. Any discussion?
This list that's on here, this is the one administration came back with as far as
Yes.
the ones that are on here.
Yes.
And it's the recommendation of administration to stick with Early Childhood Center, correct?
No.
No?
Well, originally, yes, I said center after some discussions. I'm more than okay with going with childhood or early childhood complex.
Okay.
We're still in discussion mode. Sophia, that was your recommendation. Is it your, I believe you were suggesting the term complex because that
Yeah,
is
well,
a
I know
broader-
one of the
Go ahead.
concerns was having it sound familiar to other childhood centers in town. And I know there's the Hayes Area Children's Center, so Childhood Center was kind of similar. And then Early Childhood Center, I thought also seemed really close to the Early Childhood Connections. It could be confusing. So with the complex, I think with there being multiple buildings, the word complex helps imply that there's a lot of programs going on in there. And it keeps the ECC that the district really wanted, while I think also helping inform the community of what's going on.
I brought up the idea of naming it after an individual, and I still think that's a good idea. We do have a policy on that, but, I mean, if for whatever reason we choose not to do it for this, we've done it on nearly every other building except for 2, and I'm not sure why we wouldn't, but I don't know that the names that were submitted, I think we only had a few, but anyway, I still think it would be nice to honor
I
our
think we,
staff.
I understand, I agree, and in fact, I came out and, but I think you might have missed a meeting where we discussed the possibility of naming
I watched it.
individual buildings after a person, or even the center park area after someone. I believe that's correct. So I think we had some discussion on that. I'm not just opposing the idea necessarily, but it's an idea that we've discussed.
And I think the building ought to be named, not a park or a sub-building or something else. So,
Okay, cool. Any more discussion? From administration, I understand complex is okay? Is that all right? Okay, we have a motion. USD 49 Early Childhood Complex, we have a second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye and voting aye on the screen at the same time. All in favor say aye. Aye. now. If you're opposed, say so and vote nay. Okay, we have one opposition. And I guess you can also abstain if you would like to. This is really sloppy. We'll get the details. We'll get it smoothed out. But if I understand correctly, it passed 6-1. Okay, passes 6-1. Very good. Man, I'll work out the details here, I promise. All right, next, the reports, superintendent communication.
Okay, just a couple things, and I'll make this quick. Just some things going on in the district that I want to share with the board. This week is National School Bus Safety Week, and also Bus Driver Appreciation Day this week. Our transportation employees provide lots of important work for our district, and so we're going to take this week to recognize them. We are planning a breakfast in honor for our bus drivers and transportation employees at the bus park on Fridays. We also want to congratulate our high school golf team as they advanced to state at Emporia today and tomorrow. I also feel bad for them if they had to play in this wind.
Yes.
I don't know how it went. Also, this week is the ribbon cutting ceremony on Thursday at 10 a.m. For our newly named USD 489 Early Childhood Complex. We invite board members to come to the ribbon cutting ceremony if you'd like. There is an open house, but that will not take place until 3:30 to 4:30 in the afternoon. Also, just wanted some things going on in our elementaries that I thought were a real emphasis this year is communities within inside our school system, and building communities and building relationships and relevance. Just some things that I've seen recently that I think should be noted. Last Wednesday night, Lincoln Elementary held a community family dinner for their students and families. They served over 250 meals and also had some prize drawings for gift cards. It was a huge success, and this was able to be held because of a grant that Daphne Brown wrote for the Heartland Foundation? Heartland Foundation. It was really a neat event. Also, Wilson Elementary, I don't know if any of you have had an opportunity. Mrs. Sheevy was recently on Hayes Post podcast. She's a little bit of a celebrity right now. But she talked a little bit about the Wilson Tribes, which is building community and building relationships and relevance. And so if you get an opportunity, I think it's only about 5 minutes, but shares a lot of good information. And also last week at Roosevelt Elementary, they did donuts at drop-off, which I thought was a neat event. So you pulled up, the parents pulled up, dropped their kids off, and they handed out donuts to parents. And I assume the kids didn't get any, so that was kind of a bummer probably. But I think that's another way that we're building relationships and with our families. So I think that's some really cool things going on. Of course, O'Laughlin Elementary, they just got the big award, so they're doing lots of great things there. So parent-teacher conferences this week and next week. And also just the last item is the USD Project 489 Foundation Dinner and Auction is this Saturday at the fairgrounds, and tickets are still available to be bought. So,
And
there you go.
if folks want to buy tickets, they contact the district office.
Right.
Okay. I don't want to put you on the spot, but do you know if Hayes High Marching Band performed today at Fort Hays State with their high playing?
Put me on the spot.
Sorry about that. I have to admit, I lost touch. My daughter's not in high school anymore on the band, and I lose track. And I think I saw kids marching today in a competition. So I apologize for missing it.
They did.
There you go. Yeah. Dang it. I'll take my daughter back in school, I guess. I don't know what I'm saying. All right, that's the end of our report, so now we're moving into executive session. I move to enter into executive session pursuant to Kansas Open Meetings Act exemption for matters relating to employer-employee negotiations in order to protect the district's right to the confidentiality of its negotiating position and the public interest. The board will reconvene at, I think we're going to need half an hour for this at least.
We have 2 items, I don't.
Yeah, probably.
Didn't you have a personnel thing that you wanted for executive session?
So we do have 2 things, but we have to do one at a time, so I'll do negotiations
We
first.
have 2 different items.
Okay. Well, negotiations will reconvene at 8:30, 8:20. Reconvene at 8:20 for negotiations, and then we'll move into the next executive session.
Okay.
Okay.
And those to attend for the negotiation meeting are the superintendent, the assistant superintendent, director of special education, interim executive director for finance and support services, and legal counsel. So we'll be back at 8:20.
And we will be back upstairs today because the musical has the master teacher room full with costumes.
Very good. So we got, get moving.
Would you call for the vote? No.
I don't think, do I have to vote? Oh, I do have a vote. I didn't call for a motion, I didn't make a motion. Was there a second on the motion?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed?
Okay, good. I was
Okay,
thinking you missed something.
motion passes 7-0. Yes, I didn't. Thank you.
Sure.